Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today we are talking about a new little horror film that just came out that you might not have heard of. It's called Cobweb.
You have a beautiful imagination. It's going to get you into trouble one day.
Taking place around Halloween, a little boy named Peter starts hearing noises in his family's house in the middle of the night. Is it all in his head like his parents think, or is something else going on? So this film stars Antony Starr and Lizzy Caplan as Peter's parents in the film and is directed by Samuel Bodin, who directed the horror Netflix series Marianne, which a lot of you guys might be familiar with. So Cobweb was one of my most anticipated horror releases for the rest of 2023 after I saw the trailer online. But it's sad because this movie almost has had no promotion for it at all. It has a pretty limited release as far as theaters go too. I had to go see this to a theater that usually has movies that have smaller releases. It's about like half an hour-ish away from me, so it's not too bad. But I know I've seen a lot of people who have been interested in this movie and it hasn't been anywhere around them, which really sucks. So it just clearly Lionsgate had no faith in this movie at all. And that's really too bad because I will let you guys know that this is definitely one of my favorite releases as far as horror films go for 2023, and I'll tell you guys why that is. I will say go into Cobweb if you haven't seen any trailers for it, if you haven't heard anything about it, and it's playing around you, go into this film knowing as little as possible for the best viewing experience. This movie sort of reminds me a little bit of Barbarian in that way, where I went into that movie only seeing the one trailer, and it just had a lot of twists and turns in that film that I wasn't expecting, and Cobweb kind of has that exact same thing, where there's definitely some twists and turns here that I wasn't expecting. They did a pretty good job with the trailer overall, but if you can go in it without seeing the trailer, I think that'll just make for an even better viewing experience. Now, one of my favorite things about Cobweb is that it takes place in the week leading up to Halloween. So this movie is just absolutely loaded with Halloween atmosphere. You guys know me, you can see the shirt that I'm wearing right now. I absolutely love Halloween, so anytime there's a horror film that takes place around Halloween, you got me there. So the movie is just, there's so much Halloween atmosphere. If you guys are a fan of the holiday and of horror movies, I think that you're really going to appreciate that aspect of it. And everything from the house that they're living in, which from the outside looks really rundown and creepy looking. At one point where it is the holiday season, there's even a single jack-o'-lantern sitting there lit up, which looks great. The family has a whole pumpkin patch in their backyard, which I loved. The kids at school, they're decorating jack-o'-lanterns. They're also putting up other Halloween decorations. The leaves are falling. Everything that you can think of. This is a Halloween lover's dream. So this film just absolutely oozes Halloween atmosphere. I think they did a really good job nailing that aesthetic with the film. And again, just as far as the marketing promotion side of things go, clearly they had no faith in the movie because it's getting released at the end of July around two big releases with Oppenheimer, Barbie, and then you also have A24's film Talk to Me coming out this week too. So really bad place to put this movie. A lot of people I feel are going to miss it. This movie really should have been released somewhere in September, October. I think it would have done a lot better just again because of that Halloween atmosphere and where it takes place right around Halloween. So I don't know what these guys were thinking, but yeah. I can tell you guys that this will definitely be a movie that I will be adding to my fall rotation that I watch every year just because of the Halloween atmosphere alone. Another aspect of the film that I really liked was the use of shadows in this movie. So the way that they use this, it almost gives it a fantastical element to it. So at one point at nighttime, Peter will be in his room and you'll have his flashlight or some kind of light. It's pointing towards the wall, and the way that it's lighting it up is just really kind of this creepy feeling. And then a little bit later on in the movie, you'll see Peter's parents. He sees or hears them talking, and all we see as the audience, or at least for the most part, is just shadows kind of talking on the wall. And again, it just really adds to that creepiness, adds a level of uneasiness to the movie that I really appreciated, and just a little bit of an extra bit of style to it as well. And speaking of creepy, Antony Starr and Lizzy Caplan as the parents in this movie are creepy as fuck. Just the way that they talk and they act in this film, it just made me feel really uncomfortable at certain moments in the movie. And the way that the parents act too, like for me personally, it gave me a little bit of a People Under the Stairs vibe to it. Another thing that I really enjoyed about Cobweb is that this movie isn't afraid to go there when it comes to some of the horror aspects. I was actually rather surprised by some of the scenes, and they do a really good job of building up to the scares. There is a little bit of a slow burn aspect to it, but I felt like they earned all of the scares in this movie. There wasn't a lot of just cheap jump scares or anything like that. And I can't talk about this movie without talking about the score to the film as well, because again, it just adds to that creepy fall atmosphere, but also kind of has a little bit of a dark, twisted fairy tale element to it. So I think the score did a good job of really enhancing the film. There's nothing better for a horror film when you have a really good horror movie that has a score that just perfectly complements it and sets up the mood, and this does exactly that. As far as Cobweb goes, I would say there's a little bit of trick-or-treat here mixed with a little bit of people under the stairs, but it definitely does stand on its own. There is certainly some familiar aspects to it, but overall, it is, I think, an original horror movie. It isn't something that we've seen done a million times before, and just the way some of the style choices that they go with here, you know, differentiate it a little bit as well. So that I really appreciated. And again, just when I thought the movie was going to go in a certain direction, I kind of thought that I had it figured out, you know, especially the beginning parts of the movie. I'm like, oh, this is probably where they're going to go, which would be fine with me, but they actually ended up going a completely different direction. So anytime a horror movie can keep me on my toes like that, that always adds to the experience, obviously. If I did have any complaints about the film, I would say that the ending was a little abrupt for me. It just kind of ends there, and you're kind of questioning. I don't want to go into any spoilers, obviously, but the way it ends, I'll just say it kind of ends a little abrupt for me personally, but that's all that I would really say as far as complaints go. Otherwise, overall, I really enjoyed this movie, especially how it kept surprising me as the film was going on. Overall, I really enjoyed Cobweb. It's one of my favorite horror films of the year, one of my biggest surprises of the year as well. If you are a big fall, Halloween, and just horror person in general, this is one that you definitely want to make sure to check out, especially if it's playing around you. I know it's a limited release, so some of you guys might not be able to get to see it until it comes out to streaming or physical release, which kind of sucks. Hopefully we get it, you know, right before the holiday season. But if you can, definitely go out and support this film. I think it really deserves it. As far as the score goes, I'm going to give this an 8.8 out of 10. I can't wait to pick this up and add to my collection. So let me know what you guys thought of Cobweb. Have you heard of this movie? If you have, if you got a chance to see it, I definitely want to hear what your thoughts are. And if not, is this something that you're going to try and seek out? So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. As always, guys, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. Give this video a thumbs up. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.